Hello, welcome back to the Project Nourish podcast. We're your host. I'm Megan Gump, a certified nutritional therapy practitioner and licensed Restart instructor.
And I'm Casey Poe Campbell, nutritional therapy practitioner, licensed esthetician, and licensed Restart instructor as well. We're here to bring you a podcast all about health, wellness, holistic nutrition, functional medicine, and non-toxic living.
As a disclaimer, topics discussed and recommendations given in this podcast are not to treat or cure any disease. We as NTPs want to discover and address your underlying health symptoms using nutritional therapy and functional medicine.
Hello, friend. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you doing, Casey?
Doing well. I miss seeing your face in person.
I know this past weekend was just absolutely amazing to see you at Beauty Counter Leadership Summit. And I just loved being able to actually squeeze you and see your real face. That was so great.
Your real face. I think it's like the Jetsons, how they had like those faces that they would just put on when they would talk to people over their internet phones or whatever they were called, their video phones.
Uh-huh.
Yes, but yeah, so for you guys that have no idea what we are talking about, Megan and I spent this past weekend in Minneapolis. So by the time this airs, it'll be a couple of weeks earlier. So first weekend in May, we were in Minneapolis with the Beauty Counter Leadership Summit, joined by 4,000 additional consultants. So it was just so cool being there with so many like-minded people and everybody just there on a common mission to share safer skincare, build their businesses. I mean, just so much momentum. Mm-hmm. It was really cool. And so many long lines for the coffee.
So many long lines. It was like line after line after line. I felt for everything. But it was worth it. It was super worth it. Yeah. Yes. It was an awesome weekend. And
for sure.
Yeah, we are fired up for all of the good things to come. And then also one thing that I learned at the conference, just to kind of talk in respects to what's actually happening in the industry. So Hawaii just passed a bill that they're going to be banning oxybenzoate and octinoxate, I think is how you say them. Sorry if I'm like butchering the words, but
I don't think anybody actually knows how to.
Okay.
So don't worry.
So I'm probably doing okay. But anyways, so they are banning those two ingredients out of sunscreen because those ingredients are found in most common brands of sunscreen. So pretty much AKA anything you would buy from Walgreens, CVS, Walmart, like any of those places, those brands are going to have these ingredients in there. And what's happening is people are lathering them all over their body, and then they're getting into the ocean and they are leaching into the ocean and they're actually bleaching the coral reefs. So Hawaii is the one who has taken the initiative, the first step to ban those ingredients out of their oceans. So you will not be allowed to purchase or wear any sunscreen that has those ingredients in there, started in 2020, I believe. So it's a couple of years, but the bill has been passed and it's just going to take a little bit of time for it to obviously come into effect. But that's huge, you guys. Like, that's so exciting. And you know, just so that you guys know, those are two ingredients that Beauty Counter also bans out of their sun care products. Their entire sunscreen line, the Counter Sun line, they banned those ingredients, you know, plus 1,498 others at least. And so they're definitely ahead of the game. But it's just really cool because when they kind of announced that, I was just so excited because it's like we've been working with Beauty Counter myself for, you know, about 6 months, almost, you know, a little over that now, and just really been working to kind of educate just the communities and, you know, everything, just people in general about the awareness of the chemicals that are in all of our products. So it was just really cool to see that like there is movement and, you know, legislation has become aware of this stuff and they're trying to make a difference. And so it's cool it's happened in in Hawaii, and hopefully it'll kind of migrate to the rest of the US here pretty soon. But that's just really exciting, you guys. It's just really exciting to see that this is happening, and like, you know, our products are going to get cleaner one day, and it's just a small first step.
Yeah, so it's interesting. I actually had an article up on my computer about that. So the new rules will go into effect January 1st, 2021.
Okay,
and then this
21.
is crazy, you guys. So an estimated 14,000 tons of sunscreen is believed to be deposited into the oceans annually.
Gross.
Holy camole. That is 14 tons of sunscreen, not just a ton. Yeah.
That's insane.
Just crazy.
Yeah.
So I'm actually going to go first on my what I'm digging, because mine was going to be the new Counter Sun Mist sunscreen.
Yay.
And so I have traditionally been 100% against mist sunscreens for a couple of reasons. Number one was that they were using aerosols and that it could be damaging when you actually inhaled the sunscreen. Like you would see people spraying themselves in the parking lot before a bike ride and they're over there coughing. And you're like, okay, this doesn't make sense. Like, why is your sunscreen making you cough and choke? Mm-hmm. And the other reason is because they didn't work, because you couldn't really tell where you were actually getting the sunscreen and it was just flying around everywhere. So those are just a couple of reasons why, like the top two, why I was not a fan of mist sunscreens. Mm-hmm. So the Beauty Counter sunscreen is really cool because it uses an air-powered something like valve to help make it so it like the mist actually comes out of the sunscreen. It's not using an aerosol. And then it's going to block against UVA, UVB, and blue light, which is huge. I think it's like cutting edge technology on actually blocking blue light as well, which can be aging for us. This one is going to be reef friendly, but then the super I'm going to geek out for a minute. Really cool part about it is when you spray it on, it goes on white. So you can actually see where it has been sprayed on, but then you're going to rub it into your skin and it is not white at all. And it doesn't feel greasy or sticky or icky whatsoever. Mm-hmm. So this guy here is going to be a game changer for sunscreen mists. And it's water resistant up to 80 minutes, which most other ones are only 40.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I picked up 3 of those this weekend and I am so excited about them. I'm stocked up for summer and I probably won't be using anything else except for something on my face. But I'm really excited about those too. And I just loved hearing them talk about the ingredient formulations this weekend at at Beauty Counter conference. And so basically they're putting non-nano zinc in there, which is going to be the ingredient that's going to be blocking the blue light. So we all have, may or may not have heard that blue light is, obviously from everywhere, from our environment, but especially like in our phones and our iPads and our computers, and we stare at it all the time. And so it's really good to actually download a software that blocks those blue light rays on your devices. So if you haven't done that yet, do that.
Which one? Like you just Google it? I have not done it for my computer.
Well, so actually what I'm using is something called Iris. So it's IRIS. And Evan Brand was the one who told me about it. So even if you go to evanbrand.com/Iris, I guess putting a little plug in here for him, he was the one who told me about that. So that's actually all the software that I have downloaded on my phone and on my computers.
Okay.
But so, we want to protect ourselves from blue light on our devices, but we also want to protect ourselves from blue light in our, from the sun. So that's why it's super cool. They're using the non-nano zinc, which is going to do that. And then they're also using California poppy. So it's natural California poppy, which is another ingredient in there, which is going to help reflect the UVB, UVA, and black and blue light. Mm-hmm. So just awesome. And those names are so much easier to say, and I feel way comfortable using that than something like oxybenzenate. So yeah, it's really cool, guys. So if you haven't checked out the Beauty Counter's new line for the Counter Sun, get on it. It's going to be the stuff you're going to be wanting to wear this summer, so you're not putting all those hormone disrupting chemicals on your body and on your kids' bodies. So yep, most definitely.
Absolutely. All right. So what are you loving this week? Or are you also on the sunscreen?
Oh my God. Well, I'm so on the sunscreen, but, and everything else that we learned about that we could not tell you guys about. There is some stellar stuff in the works with Beauty Counter. But so have I talked about my adaptocrine yet that I'm loving? Okay, perfect. So this goes really hand in hand with actually what we're going to be talking about here in a little bit, but it's funny because this is actually just what I've been absolutely loving lately. So I started taking adaptogens, back in September. I took a stool test and I found some gut bugs in my system. So I went on a protocol to eradicate those bugs. But while I was on that protocol, I also started taking some adaptogens. And it's basically just a combination of, your ashwagandha, your holy basil, rhodiola, and some other things. But the one that I found that I've loved the most is the Adaptocrin by Apex. And it's just so funny. And I have to tell you guys, because I just started using this one. So I've always been using a different one called Adrenal. And it's a tincture, it's a liquid, and I enjoyed it and I used it every day, but I ran out of it. And so I just grabbed this Adaptocrin by Apex from my work. And I kid you not, the day that I started taking this stuff, I was driving home from work, and it was the first time, I think, in probably ever, when I was sitting in Houston traffic and I was not pissed off that people were cutting in front of me and being complete a-holes. I was like so chill and relaxed. I was like, dang, these adaptocrins are working.
Wow.
It was really cool. And so it's funny too, because like you always hear people sometimes talk about how they start taking a supplement and they're like, I can really feel a difference. I love it. Mm-hmm. Well, I've been taking supplements since I started learning about all this stuff over a year ago. And there's never really been a supplement where I'm like, ooh, I feel better, or I can really tell this is helping. I mean, obviously with my gut infection, I eradicated the bugs that I had. I had C. diff and some other stuff going on, and I got rid of that stuff because I retested since then. So I know that the herbal antibiotics, quote unquote, air quotes, if you can't see me, so to speak, I know they work, but it's like I couldn't, feel them working. And this stuff I can. So I just have to take a moment to shout out my love for adaptogens. And if you're not doing this, it should be in your regimen.
So is that just kind of for everyone, or just people that may be experiencing some adrenal fatigue?
So I want to say everyone.
Okay.
I want to say that we just live in a world where it's 2018, and unfortunately, like, our air isn't as clean as it should be. Our water isn't as clean as it should be. Our food is definitely not as clean as it should be. We're exposed to social media and technology and commuting and all this stuff every day, all the time. And even if you live out in the woods and you work from home, you're on your computer. Mm-hmm. So your little adrenal glands are, to some scale, feeling stress. And so these adaptogens, whether you get it from something like Adaptocrin by Apex or something different, I'm just shouting out to this one because this is actually what I've noticed a big difference in what's working for me. It's a really good thing just to incorporate in your regimen. And I just feel a difference. I take 2 of these sometime in the mid-afternoon, 2 of them in the morning as well. So I'm taking like 4 a day.
Okay.
I just love them.
Awesome.
Just love them. Yeah. So yeah, I think they're ever for everyone. I think that you really need to be cautious though. A lot of people don't do well with holy basil. Ashwagandha, you just got to kind of play around and take a small dose and see if you have any reactions to it and if you feel okay, because some people do well with certain ones and some people do better with others. So you just have to play around with it and work with a practitioner,
Mm-hmm.
So they can get you set up with something that works for you specifically, or you can work with Casey and I, and we'll help you out.
Yes.
Yep.
Very cool. Okay. I'm going to have to add that to my list of supplements I need.
Yeah. It's a really good one.
Cool.
It's my new love.
All right. So you guys, today we are going to talk about something that Megan and I both experienced this past weekend. We went out and had a lot of fun, maybe a little bit too much fun on Saturday night, tearing it up at the club. We have fabulous dance moves.
Yes.
But it's one of those things, like, everybody gets a hangover. At some point, we live incredibly healthy lives and we do the best we can, but every once in a while you just want to go get crunk and a hangover is going to happen. So we wanted to talk to you guys about just, some of the ways that you can actually help to prevent your hangover from, or I guess like lessen the symptoms of your hangover, and ways to, I'm using air quotes, like treat your hangover, and just kind of talk to you guys about some of the things like where we went wrong and why Sunday was a little bit rough, a lot rough.
And to that point, I mean, we all enjoy those fun times, and Casey and I just got in a situation where we wanted to go out and we wanted to have some drinks, but we didn't have our handy tools that we should have to make us feel better the next day. So we're definitely going to talk about, what we do when we drink on a normal basis when we're prepared.
Yeah.
And also even like the best choices that you can make when you're drinking. So there's definitely a difference in between the beverage that you pick. It makes the difference for the next day at least.
Yeah.
So yeah, so some alcohol just has a lot more toxic byproducts from fermentation than others. So for example, like the best choice that you can do when you're drinking is clear liquors. So that's like your vodka and your gin. Your tequila and your whiskey and your other distilled spirits are still your better options. Clear ones are better than the brown though, but those are still up there. And then kind of like not the best decision, but like, okay, this is, still all right if you're going to drink. Dry ciders, dry champagne, and dry white wine. So anything dry, right? Nothing like sweet. Those are like your next go-tos. And then the worst decision that you guys can make, which I think this category is what most people fall into, so I'm about to break some hearts, but the worst that you can do just with the amount of sugar that these alcohols contain and the way that they ferment and the byproducts that they make are your white wines, your red wines, your dessert wines, and most definitely dead last, your beer.
Oh, so sad.
I know. And if anyone is interested, so I actually found like an awesome article by Dave Asprey, the amazing biohacker Dave Asprey. So if you just kind of like Google it, like Dave Asprey biohacking drinking tips or something, he's got so many different articles and blogs out there that he's written about drinking. So that tip, like the good, better, best tip, or like, I guess the worst, better, best tip.
Worst, better, okay.
Yeah. That tip I learned from Dave Asprey, and I've actually been practicing that ever since I learned from him, and I probably stopped drinking beer like about a year ago. I really don't drink beer anymore because of that. And I was like, dang, I'm not drinking beer anymore.
Wow.
I know I have one every once in a while, but not really. I'm like a Tito's girl straight up all the way. So
yes, our bar tabs told us that.
I know.
I was too that night. It was good. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Just don't order a double.
Don't order a double.
Stick to the singles.
Bad times. Now let's talk a little bit about the hangover symptoms. So when they actually begin is when our blood alcohol levels start to drop, meaning after you've had your last drink, and they continue to worsen and reach their most intense when your blood alcohol level returns to zero. Now, what are some things you have that morning where you're just like, oh goodness, those were some bad decisions. A couple of things that we want you guys to do when you wake up. Definitely number one is to rehydrate. You have incredibly dehydrated your body because you have been going to the bathroom, like urinating a lot more. So definitely key to rehydrate and especially get some electrolytes in there as well.
And alcohol is a diuretic. So for every ounce and a half for every ounce of diuretic that you're drinking, you should be drinking an ounce and a half of water. So think about it. If you drink, short Tito's and vodka, you need to be drinking a short plus a half pure water. So another good rule of thumb is to like have a drink and then have a water in between every single drink. So it's like order a cocktail, then get a water, then order your next cocktail and do that all night long. Yeah,
exactly. Easier said than done.
Yeah, exactly.
For sure. The other thing you're going to do is eat a healthy meal with protein and complex carbohydrates. We went and had breakfast at this amazing place in Minneapolis. I can't remember the name of it right now, but both had some solid like farmer breakfasts and some hash.
We actually did really good, Casey. So we had grass-fed burgers with gluten-free buns right before we went out drinking for dinner. And then the next morning we woke up and we went to Common Roots, which is the name of the farm-to-table restaurant in Minneapolis. Wait, where were we?
Same thing.
Okay. Blonde moment, guys. Sorry. So That's where it was so good. It was so good. So we actually did go with the proteins and the carbs pre and post drinking.
We did real good.
Good for us.
Yes. Take a nap, which both of us did.
Yeah.
Or, take a walk or go to the gym.
Or don't go to the gym.
Or don't.
That could be a bad idea.
It did not work out so well for us. But there's been times when I have not quite indulged as much, and going for a walk, going to the gym has definitely improved symptoms. But on a serious note too is, if you see someone who is unconscious, please call 911. Like,
that's next level, but yeah.
I mean, it's next level, but I just felt like we should really emphasize that. Cause I mean, in all fun and games and everything, but it can be
until someone's unconscious.
Extremely serious. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So what's the first thing that you used to reach for before you knew about all of this to help with your hangover?
Oh my gosh. Like ibuprofen or Tylenol.
Mm-hmm.
Ew.
Yep. So that is one of our do not do's, is to grab something like acetaminophen, because it can actually cause severe liver problems when it mixes with the alcohol. So, I mean, the way I think about it, you've just been epically punching your liver all night, and then you wake up and it's still processing all of these toxins and everything. And then you're just like, bam, let me just kick you while you're down.
Ugh. So sad.
Yeah. Hug your livers, everybody. Hug your livers.
Yeah. And we're going to give you guys some other options so you don't have to reach for that Tylenol.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Definitely don't drive or operate machinery. And you're not going to want to rehydrate with your conventional sports drinks.
That's a really good point. Like your Gatorade and like the nasty stuff that's got maybe some added artificial sugars or flavoring or any of that stuff. It's just more junk that your body has to process.
Yeah. I will say, so there's a supplement company that I do some teaching with, Base Performance, and they have what's called Rocket Fuel, which is a mix of some electrolytes, some salt, and amino acids. And I know from experience that it is amazing for not only your workout drink, but for your hangover cures.
Yeah, that sounds like a really good one.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Nice.
And then the last thing, don't load up on a heavy, greasy meal. Which
that's what, people tend to definitely go for that first day. Like, I just need something greasy and bready.
Exactly. Again, you're just going to be overtaxing your liver, and just, it's not going to end well, guys.
Yeah.
Don't
do it. Yeah. Speaking of Base Performance, where can you get that stuff?
Baseperformance.com.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, for everybody out there that wants to grab a good hangover drink, coconut water is another really, really good one, but that one sounds really good too.
Yeah. Yep. The Rocket Fuel.
Yeah.
What it's been dubbed.
Cool. I like it. I'm gonna have to check that out. Have to check that out
for sure. A couple of other things that you guys can do for your guests, like some recommended supplements we have. So we have magnesium. So this is going to be, instead of taking your Excedrin or your Tylenol, the magnesium is going to help with a headache, because it's going to help relieve, or it may help relieve, some of the pressure and pain that's associated with it. And so, just a like random note, if you drink alcohol or have diabetes, you may have a magnesium deficiency. So this can also help, like if you take the magnesium before you go to sleep, it's just another dose to help prevent that headache from occurring.
And magnesium, this is kind of like a double hitter, because it helps with inflammation, right? Casey was saying it helps with headaches too. And magnesium also it's a cofactor that pushes melatonin into creation. So coming from all of the different chemicals that it breaks down and converts into to get to melatonin, magnesium is a big cofactor that needs to make that conversion. So, right, melatonin goes up at night, so it helps you sleep. Cortisol goes down, and magnesium is something that helps with that melatonin level rise. So that's why it's really good to take before you go to sleep at night, so that you can help make more melatonin and you can sleep better.
I had no idea.
Yeah, so I just learned that not that long ago, but I thought it was super interesting because you always hear people say like, "Oh, I take magnesium before I go to bed so I can poop better in the morning," right?
Mm-hmm.
And it just has so much more meaning than that. And it is appropriate to take at night because of that conversion for melatonin, but also with this hangover to help with all kinds of other stuff too. So
Mm-hmm.
win, win, win.
Yay, magnesium.
Yay. Yeah.
Let's see. Then we also have ginger tea, and this can help
Mhm.
just to really settle your stomach, to stave off some of that if you feel like you're going to vomit. And it's just going to help the digestive upset and stabilize your blood sugars, which have definitely been adversely impacted by alcohol consumption and most likely some poor eating decisions as
Ugh.
well.
Yeah. Yeah. What else? Eggs.
Mm-hmm.
Eating eggs for breakfast may help your body release the after effects of alcohol, just kind of like lurking in your system. And so I guess like cool fact about eggs is eggs contain L-cysteine, which is an amino acid that's responsible for breaking down toxins and releasing them. So they're also, of course, a really good source of protein, and they help rebuild your energy reserves. But that L-cysteine really kind of helps for getting the toxins out of the body that you've definitely hammered your liver with and the rest of your poor body with alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
So that's cool.
And what goes perfect with eggs but a little sweet potato hash? So
Yes.
getting in those complex carbohydrates. So sweet potatoes are definitely a perfect choice because they are loaded with beta carotene, potassium, vitamins A, C, and B6. And so when you're nursing your hangover, just having a couple of eggs alongside with this nutrient dense sweet potato hash, you're probably going to feel about 67% better.
Yeah. Yeah.
For sure.
I'd almost push it to 75.
Depending on how good the hash is.
Yeah. Exactly. How hungover you were when you were making it.
Yeah, right. If you're unconsolably hungover, 67%.
Yeah. Maybe less. Oh, we're bad. All right. What else, Casey?
Let's see. We'll just run through these quickly. Vitamin B6. Again, we're just going to try to help lessen those hangover symptoms, and it can just oh gosh, I'm blanking on what it can help with.
Well, it's associated with being an effective treatment for hangovers.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Then we have bone broth, and this can help with an upset stomach and restore some of those electrolyte balances. Milk thistle, because this is just going to give your liver the high five that it needs.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have, last one is Siberian ginseng, and this is going to help again with our nausea, stomach pain, vomiting, tiredness.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of good thing.
Yeah. Yeah, so those are some good ones. Siberian ginseng, milk thistle, bone broth, vitamin B6, your complex carbohydrates, your eggs, ginger tea, definitely soothing for the stomach. Lots and lots and lots of coconut water. I even mentioned that one earlier, but definitely coconut water is almost more hydrating than water. Just because it almost, so if I heard this correctly when I was working for Zico Coconut Water years and years ago, coconut water does something where it mimics our blood better, so that's why it's absorbed faster than water.
Oh,
something along to those effects. Yeah. So, because I remember that was one thing that I was always educating people on, is it's like more hydrating than water, especially for like after a marathon or like a triathlon. That's why it's always better to slam a coconut water than it is just pure water. But it's like high in electrolytes, including potassium, which your body definitely needs after overindulging in alcoholic beverages. So, yeah.
Absolutely.
And then the good old magnesium. And then another trick too, which I know that I do every single time I drink, is I take 4 capsules of activated charcoal. Yeah.
Yay!
Yep. I take 4 capsules of activated charcoal. For all of you watching on YouTube, you can see the bottle Casey just held up. But Yeah, I take 4 of those right before I go to bed, like after a night of drinking when I'm done. Just because it really helps bind onto those toxins and just pull them out of your body. So activated charcoal is amazing. If that's actually like the one thing that you do, you should literally be drinking like a ton of water and taking activated charcoal, and you'll feel a lot better.
Yeah.
So
yeah, have it before a night out. Have like your giant glass of water and your
Mhm.
charcoal sitting right by like your toilet, because you're probably not going to wash your face, but you will go to the pee beforehand. So have it like sitting on the back of your toilet. So you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And Dave Asprey even says that if you're drinking beer or wine, to take 1 capsule with each drink. So that way, like every time you're drinking it and you're getting those like fermented toxins, basically, it's binding to that and pulling them out of the body faster than they can absorb into your system. So that's a really, really stellar biohacking tip for drinking.
Yep. Exactly.
And then like if you want to get really crazy, like alpha lipoic acid is a super potent antioxidant for mitochondrial function. So if you want to do that, you could throw that in there before you start drinking, like about 400 milligrams kind of thing. That's another really good one. And then I know Casey mentioned B6, but even like all the Bs, like just like a B complex before you start drinking, because Bs help with your methylation cycle. So like spinning that cycle for energy to kind of help all the rest of the systems do their job. So you could take some B vitamins. And then glutathione is just a good gut loving liver support detoxifier. Also good for like immune system support. So you could take some of that too. So those are just like little, I guess, bonus supplements as well.
I love it.
Yeah, it's all good stuff.
Yeah. But as always, drink responsibly, except when you don't and you go get crunk at the club. It happens though. But now you guys know a little bit better on how to minimize your hangovers and maybe even prevent some. So, but something else that alcohol can be pretty tough on is our adrenals. So that was the other thing that we wanted to talk to you guys about today is adrenal fatigue.
Yeah, I mean, definitely when we drink, it really takes a toll on our poor 2 little adrenal glands and just wears those guys out. But I think that we want to talk about adrenal fatigue in general because adrenal fatigue goes much further beyond just drinking. And I know that I definitely had some hardcore adrenal fatigue on Sunday when I was feeling the wrath of my double decisions. But I wanted to just kind of bring it up because I think that a lot of people deal with this every day and just their everyday schedule in their life. And so we kind of just wanted to touch on it and some things that you can do and kind of ways that you can know if you should be addressing that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, earlier, just how you were mentioning sitting in Houston traffic.
Yeah, exactly.
Definitely stressful for your adrenals.
Yeah, 100%.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I think that in today's world, right, like Casey and I talk about this all the time, just how toxic it is, unfortunately, in the year 2018, from like our air not being clean, our water, our food. We're commuting, we're driving in cars all the time, so we're exposed to those pollutants. From the fabric in our clothing, like what's that made with, you know what I mean? From the toxic chemicals that are in our skincare that we lather on our body every day, to what we're cleaning our house with, spraying our floors with, our counters, all that kind of stuff. I mean, there is just a toxic load or even just a stressor in everything. Unless you're meditating peacefully in a garden is pretty much the only time you get a little bit of relief from any type of stressor. So we just wanted to touch on it because drinking is definitely a little stressor on these guys. And, the primary role of your adrenal glands, even though they have many, but just to kind of name like some of the big hitters. So there's 2 glands, right? The medulla and the cortex. And then basically what these guys do is they produce and regulate the stress hormone cortisol. So that's like a really big one. And then they also produce sex hormones, your estrogen and your progesterone. And the cortex the cortex gland also has 3 zones that each produce separate hormones. So you've got like your aldosterone, your cortisol, and then your sex hormones in different glands or in different areas, excuse me, like the zones. But your adrenal glands also produce your neurotransmitters like epinephrine, norepinephrine, and dopamine, which are your neurotransmitters for like mood. So, like you talk about anxiety and stress and depression, your adrenal glands have a huge, huge, huge part on making those neurotransmitters that make you feel good or bad. So,
a perfect example is how you were just saying that you were calmer in
right.
traffic.
Yeah, right.
I mean,
exactly.
Right there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So adrenal glands have a big part of that. And then also like these hormones and neurotransmitters regulate your metabolism, and they also communicate with other organs like your brain and your kidneys and your reproductive system. So that's, a really big player in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Or they are, I guess, since there's 2 of them. Let's not leave one out. And then chronic stress can definitely just suppress your adrenal glands, causing them to release insufficient amounts of these necessary hormones. So pretty big stuff. And then, of course, your adrenal glands are also one of the 3 main players in blood sugar regulation. So along with the pancreas and the liver, these 3 organs communicate to regulate blood sugar. So you really want to have all the pieces in line, and you need all the pieces of the puzzle to be complete. And so if your adrenal glands are fatigued and stressed and depleted, then you're not making your hormones that you like the way that you should. You're not supporting your blood sugar regulation like we need to be doing. And that can cause a lot of stress on the body and on the system as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
So
absolutely. And that's probably, I guess you could say, like one of the most common assaults on the adrenals, but then also one of the, I guess, like quote unquote, easiest fixes as well is doing something like sugar detox, joining a restart class and cutting out all that processed sugar and that sugar for 3 weeks to really give your adrenals a break from that constant bombardment of having to come in and perform roles that it really was not meant to perform when it comes to blood sugar regulation.
Right.
Yeah. So a couple of signs of adrenal fatigue: unexplained weight loss or weight gain. You can just be kind of achy and have muscle pain, just feeling fatigue, like difficulty getting out of bed in the morning, low blood pressure, salt and sugar cravings. I mean, the list goes on for quite a while, but there's a lot of different things that can go into adrenal fatigue. I remember when we read the book in our nutrition class about adrenal fatigue and just kind of describing where it basically takes you all day to wake up and you have like so many cups of coffee, but then you are wide awake from like 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. And this can definitely be a sign that you have adrenal fatigue and not necessarily feeling hungry when you first wake up, just needing that cup of coffee to get going or just craving something sugary. Again, all just signs that those poor little guys need some love.
Yeah, that's a really good way to put it. Even too, I think that people sometimes don't really correlate symptoms with what could potentially be going on. So even things like infertility or low libido or thyroid imbalances, stuff like that, those can even be symptoms of adrenal fatigue. And I think that my favorite one that I see in the office a lot when I'm working with my clients is the way that I describe it, or they describe it to me, is it's like they're walking around with a cloud over their head.
Oh, yeah.
They just can't get away from it. No matter what they do, no matter how long they sleep, no matter what they eat, it's just like always there. So that's a really good sign. But I mean, yeah. And then again, I always just have to stress to them. I mean, you got to think about what they're doing with their lives. Most people work way too much. Like they're stressed out. They're working 40 to 80 hours a week. They're waking up and commuting maybe 20 minutes to an hour and a half. Like that's a huge stress. Did they have time to wake up in the morning and make breakfast? Were they stressed out because they didn't have time to eat? And now their body's stressed out because they have got blood sugar issues and they're hungry. all of that stuff. Driving in the car, are they running late for work? Are they super stressed out? Is their boss like, a grinder and he's going to yell at them when they get there? I don't know, that kind of thing. I mean, it's just all these things in our life in today's world. It's a lot, and it really, really affects our adrenals and, the rest of our body, of course. But that's why when you've got stuff going on like this, you really need to look into, okay, what can I do to support myself, right? Like, what can I do to love my adrenals and to just really help them out right now, especially like what I'm doing with this adaptocrine. That's exactly what I'm doing, and people got to keep in mind too, if, they're not buying organic, pasture raised meats and organic fruits and vegetables, that's also another stressor on the body that's causing adrenal fatigue, because your poor little liver is having to process all of these pesticides, aka Roundup and like glyphosates, from genetically modified organisms. And our body's just like, what the heck? I don't recognize this. And that's a stressor. So it's like doing little things that you can, getting cleaner food, filtering your water, maybe trying to have a job that's closer to your house if your job truly really really stresses you out. But yeah, I mean, things that can also stress the body out. So okay, beyond like waking up and going to work and all that kind of stuff, but like not sleeping, that's a really big stressor on the body, which I know everybody feels when they wake up. But also even things like supporting yourself with a ton of coffee in the morning, like a bunch of caffeine, that's something else that your body has to process. Eating junk food and like processed snacks while you're at work, or someone brought in donuts and I felt like I had to eat one. It's like those are all stressors on the body. Not even to mention if you're dealing with any type of emotional trauma in your life, like an unhealthy relationship, the death of a loved one, all of that kind of stuff is just on top of everything else in general. And two, like, my boss is a triathlete. I always want to say she's a Iron Man, but she's actually an Iron Woman. But she is an Iron Man. And so she's always, riding her bike or swimming or running. And it's like her whole entire day, she either is kind of running into the office crazy because she just got done with a workout, or she's trying to run out of the office to go get a swim in or whatever it might be. And you got to think about that kind of stuff too, because overtraining can definitely really take a huge toll on your body. Even if you're doing...
Yeah, I mean, I see this all the time in the athletes that I work with. They come to me and they're, they say I'm gaining weight, I'm tired all the time, my easy workouts are really hard right now, I'm supposed to be in the best shape of my life, but they're maybe sleeping 4 to 5 hours every night, commuting for work, they have kids, and they're trying to fit in 20 hours of training. They're trying to train like a professional without recovering. And it takes a toll, and you eventually get to a point where you just hit a brick wall and you can't maintain that pace.
Yeah. So that's a really big one. And it's really hard to have that conversation with people too, when they're, maybe training for an upcoming race or something's going on and they're just like, I cannot cut back or slow down right now. And you really just kind of have to put those people in check and be like, look, what is more important to you? Like your health is the most important thing. And if you just keep beating yourself into the ground, your health is going to get worse and you're not going to be able to train the way that you are now, or even the way that we're telling you to tone it down a little bit. So that's a really big thing to keep in mind if you are overtraining and you're just overworking your body with exercise that it can't handle, especially if you're in a state of adrenal fatigue on top of that. You just got to really chill out for a bit so that your adrenal glands can recover and repair, and then you can get back at it. But definitely work with like a practitioner that can take you through a protocol to really just take the time for a couple of months to just kind of rest and repair so you can get back out there.
Exactly. Yeah, you're going to gain a lot more by maybe taking a step back from some of your workouts, because you'll get to the point where you have to take months off and not do anything whatsoever. And I mean, we can do another episode on this, but like two things that you may be overtraining. Number one, you can't fall asleep and you can't sleep after a really hard workout. Definitely a sign that you are overtraining and you're gaining weight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The cortisol tire, you guys, a lot of people are like eating really clean and they're working out, but it's like, why am I gaining this like tire around my belly? Like it just won't go away. That is a clear sign of adrenal fatigue. That is a sign that you are excreting the stress hormone cortisol more than you need to be, more than your body can handle. And so that's where that weight is coming from, is it's literally excess cortisol hanging out in your, lower stomach region, because you have to keep in mind your adrenal glands sit right on top of your kidneys. So like, especially another thing too, this is another good symptom, pain in the lower back.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people will have that pain in the lower back and they don't understand it. And it's because that's right where your little adrenal glands are. So
yeah,
good signs.
So crazy.
I know.
All right. So now that we know what can cause adrenal fatigue and what it looks like, how can we help to treat it?
Mm-hmm. So one thing that we do as functional medicine practitioners is we run an adrenal stress profile panel, so we can actually look at your cortisol levels through saliva. So we'll look at your cortisol levels right when you wake up, during the middle of the day, in the late evening, right before you go to bed, and then also at 2:30 in the morning. So we can actually look at your cortisol pattern for the entire day and see where you're high, where you're low, and where you should be and where you're not. So that's one thing that we do as functional medicine practitioners, which I am so excited. I'm going to be done with my certification like the end of this month. Super stoked about it, you guys. So if you need some functional lab testing done, I'm your go-to girl, or one of them. There's a billion, or not a bazillion of us, but there's a lot of us out there.
But you're the best.
I'm just really excited. Yeah. So adding that to my toolbox. And then the other thing is NTPs. So as a nutritional therapy practitioner, Casey and I became nutritional therapy practitioners so that we could learn the hands-on functional evaluation skill, so that we can actually palpate or touch, your body in certain areas to learn your vitamin and mineral deficiencies and just high areas of need. Mm-hmm. So if you live in the area where you're close to an NTP, you can actually look us up on the Nutritional Therapy Association website. You can search for an NTP in your area, and they will perform this functional evaluation on you that can also confirm if you have adrenal fatigue or not. Mm-hmm. So those are just two really good ways to test for it. So you can kind of do the functional medicine saliva test remotely from afar. You can find someone that'll totally send that to you and run it, and you guys can go over that together, or you can meet in person with an NTP and do the functional evaluation. So pretty cool stuff. Yep. Oh, but also, like, if you stand up or you sit up and you get really dizzy when you like get up from either lying down or sitting, that's a clear sign that you have adrenal fatigue.
Yeah. And needing sunglasses when you go outside.
Yeah. And if you can't tolerate the sun or being outside without glasses, or if you work in an office and you cannot stand your light, obviously those really, really harmful LED, like bright fluorescent lights in buildings are terrible for us. But if you are working somewhere where it hurts your eyeballs and it just hurts your brain to be in there, that's another sign of adrenal fatigue. Mm-hmm. Yep. I keep thinking of all these good ones as we keep going.
I know, right?
Yeah. It's awesome though.
All right. So a couple of ways that you can really help to give your adrenals some love. Go to bed earlier and get plenty of sleep. Mm-hmm. This is huge, you guys. Sleep is, we'll have to do a whole other episode on sleep, but yeah, so incredibly important. You can go to an infrared sauna, not spa, and this is really going to help to remove some of those toxins. You can do the adaptogenic herbs like Megan mentioned, vitamin B complex, magnesium, fatty acids like omega-3, and moderate exercise. So nothing super crazy. So if you are an athlete experiencing adrenal fatigue, tone it down. Maybe do more gentle exercises if you still feel the need to do some type of exercise. So this one is kind of like, it sounds super woo-woo, but avoiding negative people and self-talk. So again, everything that we tell ourselves and the people that we're around, it manifests in our body. And we've all been around those super negative people where you just feel drained afterwards. That is definitely going to be stress. on your adrenals as well. And when you're talking negative to yourself, same thing.
Yeah, that one's a really, really big one. And there's actually been like scientific research done on people that have been diagnosed with cancers or like tumors. And they will basically do a study where that patient will listen to positive affirmations. And they've actually seen cancer cells go away, like regress. Like people get cured from cancer. I mean, it's obviously one of the activities that they're doing to obviously treat themselves, but it's been studied. Same thing with tumors. Like people imagine their tumors getting smaller and going away and thinking really positive and like their body's healing. And they've seen tumors shrink. So there is definitely scientific research and data to back up how talking to yourself and the people that you surround yourself and the energy that you surround yourself with really, really, really makes a big impact in your life. So it is definitely not woo-woo. If you've got like a vampire in your life, it's just someone that is sucking all the good energy around you when they come into your zone. Like just figure out how to get rid of them. And even if it's a family member or like a roommate or someone that has to stay in your life, you have to figure out how to make it work for you. And if it's someone that you live with, like end your lease or whatever and move somewhere else. If it's someone that you're married to, I mean, you should definitely rethink your relationship. And I know that's really bold for me to say, but like life is so short. And if you live with someone that's draining you, like that's not positive, and that's not a happy, good life. That's not the way that we were meant to live our 80, 90 years on earth, you know? So that's all stuff to just kind of think about.
Yeah. And then, go listen to the episode with Cassandra and practice some self-love.
Yeah, definitely.
Too.
Yeah. Episode 12.
Yes. All right. Well, I think we pretty much wrapped it up with our hangover tips and adrenal fatigue.
Yeah, I would say so. That was good.
All right. Well, thank you guys for listening to this week's show. If you are interested in working with an NTP, you can further work with Megan and Casey. To learn more, find us online.
So you guys can find me, Megan, online at megangump.com. And you can also go to my website and book a free 15-minute introductory call with me, where I will go over the consultation process working with me, what that looks like. So from today's show, if you guys are like curious about, I don't know if I have adrenal fatigue or not, definitely hit myself up or, hit Casey up on our websites, and we would be more than happy to work with you and figure that kind of stuff out. And then you guys can also follow me on Instagram at megan.gump.
And you can find me, Casey, over at caseypoe.com or on Instagram at realtalkcasey. If you have any questions or comments about today's show, or if you would like us to cover a specific topic, please email us at projectnourishpodcast@gmail.com.
And if you guys enjoyed today's show and you are loving our podcast, please go and give us a 5-star review on iTunes. We really appreciate our listeners' support and all the love. Also, if you guys watch the videos on YouTube, please give us a subscribe and a like. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.